Hey guys, Liam C Photography here, and today I have a quick basic Lightroom tutorial. Hopefully this one doesn't drag on too long. You can always skip through things that you already know. I got this raw file from Jarrett Poland, a photographer. He has a website called Phronos Photo, and he uploads photographs that are in raw format, and you can take these and edit them on Photoshop and Lightroom. This is great for if you don't have any photos of yourself that you want to edit right away, or maybe you don't have a portrait you want to edit and you feel like you want to get better at editing portraits. Maybe it's really late, you don't want to go shoot a photograph, or maybe you don't have time to shoot photographs. Maybe you just want to spend an hour or whatever, 20 minutes, and just edit some photographs. So I have this photo of this model, and here's the starting raw file, and here's my finished one. So I'm just gonna go through how I did this. It's not an overly done edit. It's I want to say it's fairly basic. It seems pretty natural, and I feel like with any portrait photography, this is a basic editing that should be done all the time. So let's just get started. I'm gonna go back to the original, and the first thing that I'm going to do that's going to have a major effect on this photograph is the white balance. Now, shooting in JPEG, it's hard to get the white balance, so this is why we always shoot in RAW because, excuse me, you can see that this photo has a green bluish tint to it, and we don't, well, I personally don't like that. So we're just going to go first to straight to the auto, and already that looks amazing. That looks way better. Here's the start. Here's the white balance editing. Now, to my liking, it may be a little pink, but we're just going to leave it like that. Now this photograph has pretty good exposure, so I'm just gonna leave that the same. And the contrast, I always tend to bump up my contrast. 14 seems pretty good. I do like clarity. It has the same type of contrasty feel to it, but has more like a gray feel. For portraiture, usually this is more for males because if you watch, if I bump it up quite a bit, you can see her pores. They just stand out a lot more. Her hair gets more gritty. It's more rough. It's more like, it reminds me of like a warrior, like a lumberjack. So we're gonna add a bit to it, but not that much. It's not really noticeable, but in the end, it still has an overall effect. Now, I'm not too experienced with tone curves, and so for this photograph, we're not going to touch those. Now, in the final product, I did lower the background a bit. I made it not as green. I made it a little bit darker. If you want to do this, like, it's barely noticeable, but I'll still run through it quickly. So for luminance, that's pretty much brightness. And now I could go through this thing and take the greens and lower them. But what I did do is take this little tool, this little circle right here, and I click it, and you find the color you want. So I take the background, that's the color I want, this green tone all in the background. I click and I drag down with the mouse, and you can see on the right here, my scale has shifted. Not only the green shifted down, but the aqua shifted down. That means this background has a bit of aqua and green tone to it. Now, if I turn this on and off, it's not really noticeable, but it just helps make the model pop a bit more from the background. You can do the same with saturation, maybe bring it down just a wee bit, not too much. You see, I think that's a little bit too much. I'm just going to take this, slide that up just a bit. And yeah, I think that's fine. Let's leave it there. We won't worry about the hue. Hue, pretty much we can take this green and make it like a yellow or make it a bright greenish turquoise. But I think the green's fine. I think the green and the red hair have a good contrast, so let's just leave it there. I'm going to minimize this. Now, split toning, I usually do add some split toning to my photographs. Some of them may have a lot. If you want a highly dramatic shift in color, let's just do a crazy example like that. Maybe you want that type of effect, but for this photograph, I don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a reddish color for the highlights. I'm going to make her skin more pinkish red. She's kind of pale, like myself. And for shadows, we're going to have like a turquoise blue, because orangish red is a good contrast with turquoise and blue. It's just really appealing to the eyes. A lot of movies use this type of split toning. And we're going to lower the saturation a lot. Let's go to 15 for the highlights and shadows. I think I had mine around like a little bit less than that, probably like half. Let's just have it like 6. I think that's fine. So you can see when I turn this off, her skin's has a more pale tone to it. When I turn it on, it's got a little more tanner, a little more peachy color there. And the background's a little more turquoise just for the contrasty value. Not very noticeable. And we're going to make it less noticeable with this balance bar. So pretty much in the middle, it's neutral. So the highlights and shadows are both even. Now if I bump it up, now the highlights are going to be more overpowered compared to the shadow bar. And if I bump it down lower, the shadows are going to be more powerful than the highlight bar. So I want my highlights to be more powerful. And 38. Yeah, I'm kind of liking like 38. Just around there seems fine. Let's go down to detail. Now, up here at the histogram bar, you can see that the ISO is fairly high. I don't, depending on what type of camera this shot with, that may not be high at all, but I feel like anything over 800 probably should have some noise reduction, and Lightroom's great with that. So we're going to take this luminance bar, which is going to reduce the noise, and we're going to make it like 27. Now this will, if we go to my history bar and we go before I did the luminance smoothing, you will notice if I go back and forth that her skin might be hard to tell on YouTube, but her skin gets a little more smooth. She does lose some detail in her skin. It's not very noticeable, and excuse me, it's not very noticeable, and we're gonna be smoothing her skin after anyway, so I don't see why not. Next, I'm going to do remove chromatic abbreviation. I'm going to do a variation. I don't know how to pronounce that, but pretty much what it does is, so there's fringing in your camera, which gives like harsh blue or green outlines of certain things. It'll pick that up and remove it. Of course, you can go more in detail with this bar, but I always just click that, and it does a little bit there. If it is there, it may not be there. It's just always nice to have, because you don't want to go print out a photo and have someone look really close to it, sorry, and have maybe a pink outline of her body. It may look just terrible. Excuse me, just taking a drink. And I usually do add vignetting to my photograph, and so let's just go add some. For this one, I just had just a little bit of vignetting, not too much, but I always start with adding a lot so you can tell where it's getting laid out. And maybe I want my midpoint not too, I want to bump it up just a bit. Let's make the midpoint, yeah, like around there, because I don't want to be too, because she's to the right of the photograph. I want the midpoint to be farther from the center, so less of her gets cut off with the vignetting. Roundness, maybe make it just a little more smoother. And feathering, I'm going to do quite a bit of feathering. I think that looks fine, but it's still very powerful on the outside, so I'm going to lower it down a bit. Maybe a lot. I think that looks fine. Just taking another drink. It's not too powerful, and it does make her pop just a wee bit more, and I do like that. So we're pretty much done here with this, all of the effects on the right side here, all the basic effects, but there's still a bit more I'm going to do to this photograph. I do this with most photographs. I don't do to all the photographs I take. I usually select the certain ones, and the ones I want to do main edits to, I'll do what's coming up next. Throat's getting dry here. So first, I usually start with the eyes, and we're going to take this adjustment brush here, and we're going to zoom just on her face with the navigation. We're going to go to her eyes, and what I usually do is set my exposure as low as it goes, so I can know where I'm going to edit. Remember, this is non-destructive. Everything we do here in Lightroom is non-destructive, which is great. So we're gonna make our eyes, we're gonna paint over them with black pretty much. And we're gonna use this effect thing that says custom, and we're gonna go all the way down to, sorry, where is it? Iris and enhance. Now this is gonna make our eyes just pop a bit more. We're gonna zoom out and you can see your eyes. And you can still edit this. What it does here is exposure a bit, clarity a wee bit, and saturation up a lot. And if we go down to before we did this, those were our eyes before, those are our eyes now. You can see they pop out a bit more, and eyes in this photograph especially are very important, so I do like that effect. Excuse me. Next I'm going to do a new brush, and we're going to go to the lips. I haven't really edited lips a lot, but if we do something just slightly, just a little bit more, it could add a bit to the photograph. So we don't want iris. We're just going to make it neutral. We're going to do what I did before. We're going to make it the exposure -4, so it's pretty much going to make these lips black. And we're going to do just a rough adjustment. I'm just making this quick. I feel like I'm already running lots of time on this video, so let's just hurry up here. And I am just using a mouse in this. I do have a tablet, but I'm not using it right now. And if we hold down the Alt key, we can remove any mistake we've made. So now her lips look nice and gothy, but let's just make it normal. And I'm just going to increase the saturation just a bit, just to make her lips more red, more fuller. And maybe I want to add just a bit of color on there. Just a little bit more than that, or a little less than that, sorry. Let's try a darker red. Lower the saturation just a bit. Okay, let's see how that looks. Go over here before I did that. So there's our lips before. Here's our lips after. A little more red, a little more pop. I'm just going to lower the saturation just a bit. 13 seems alright. And so far we've done the lips, we've done the eyes. Let's go to blemishes on her face, example pimples. Now her face is fairly clear, you can tell there's makeup on here. But we're going to just remove just some, just for demonstrational purposes anyway. I do like Photoshop's version of this tool better, but Lightroom's is alright. And the tool we'll be using today is a spot removal tool, and we're going to be using healing brush. Now this sample seems a bit too big, so I'm going to use the square bracket keys on my keyboard to make it smaller, or you can use the mouse wheel to make it bigger or lower. And we're going to lower the opacity. I don't know, 60 seems fine. Lightroom seems to have a trouble with this sometimes, so we don't want to make it 100%. Like I would remove her nose ring, but that's her personality, so I'm not gonna worry about that. And Lightroom may have a bit of trouble with that because it's on the outside of her nose. There's a harsh line here, and if I click it, it may not. Sorry, let's make that 100%. Let's remove that. Let's do this again at 100%. Yeah, you can see it didn't do a good job. You can't see the line of her nose. It's kind of just smudged out her face a bit. So let's remove that. Let's lower opacity down just a wee bit. Let's make it down like, I don't know, 70. And what else? Let's browse her skin. Maybe you don't like this little spot here. Maybe this little blemish right there. Yeah, let's click a couple of these. This is just like nitpicking. Honestly, it doesn't really matter if this is just like a Facebook photograph, but if there's like major blemishes, maybe you want to remove them. And clearly this model has fairly clear skin. So now that that's done, we got rid of just some small blemishes, nothing too major. We're going to go smoothen the skin. We're going to smooth the skin, sorry, with our paintbrush here, our adjustment brush. And we're going to go with the -4 again on exposure so we know where we're painting. And let's just zoom in just not 1:1. Yeah, 1:1's fine. Use our keyboard to increase our brush size, and we're going to use a smooth brush here. And what we're going to be doing is painting all over the skin. All over. We're not going to hit our hair. If it does a little bit, it's fine. If you do light adjustments that aren't too abrupt, even if you don't get it fully, it's not going to matter. It'll be hard to tell. We're not going to hit her eyes or her eyelashes, her eyebrows. We're going to stay away from those. We'll lower, make this smaller a bit, just get in here a little bit. I usually just do this technique with females because females usually like they worry about perfect skin, where males not so much. And especially if the male has a beard, it's not going to work. For males, I will remove pimples, depending how much there is and what it's for. But yeah, I usually do this effect always on females. It's something I just kind of started doing, so I'm not too great at it. But if you do things in small amounts, it's no big deal, especially in Lightroom because everything is non-destructive, so no need to stress. And this is just for fun, right? Let's go down here. As you can see, I'm missing some parts of her jawline. It's no big deal. This is just for a video, but I don't. Oops. Let's alt out of that. This is no big deal, but I don't want to hit her lips, just because I like her lips having lots of detail. And we're almost done here. Just this one part of the face. Part of her face. Losing my voice here. I didn't do the nose ring because we want that to have detail. And pretty much what we're going to be doing is smoothing out her skin. So we don't want to smooth out the nose ring. That's why we didn't hit the eyes. Alright, that's looking alright. A little rough there on the jawline and up here, but that's alright. We'll go to full screen. And you can see exactly where we painted over. And we're going to go to our effect bar, and we're going to go to soften skin. And this is way too much in my opinion. This looks ridiculous. So we're just going to take the clarity and lower it a lot, maybe to -20. And we go to our history bar. We go all the way down here. Now let's just watch the skin. It goes from there with the blemishes and her pores, and we're just gonna go here. It looks like a more makeup effect, more perfect-ish looking skin, I can say, and it's not over the top. And clearly she's not a supermodel, so we don't want to offend her in any way, and I think that's just a good amount. Next we can get rid of some stray hairs here. I find this easier in Photoshop, but just for demonstrational purposes, let's just go over here and go to the heal brush, make it a little bigger, and just do them. Just click. Oh, apparently I already did that. Just click around here, click and paint on the small hairs that are sticking out. Clearly this is just nitpicking. It's not a big deal at all in my opinion. But just in case you want to do that, you can. And it's not doing such a great job, but that's okay. We can, if I really want to get rid of those, I would go in Photoshop. But that's pretty much the ending of this. So let's go to our history and go all the way down to all the actions we did, right down to the import. So here's our final edit. Here's the import. I think that's a crazy amount of detail that's been changed. In my opinion, it looks way better. Maybe it has a little bit too much pink in it, but I do like this photograph. So I hope you learned something. from this quick tutorial. Well, I think it was quick. Who knows how long I've been rambling on for. But please leave a comment, give it a like. If you want to see anything else in future videos, just let me know. Maybe I can go more into detail what each action does. And if you have maybe a photograph you want to see how I'd edit, just please send it over. And thank you for your time. Hope you all have a good day.